and a major city yet to be determined in Russia.
Well, thank you very much for being here, and this is very exciting for me. I know so many people that are in your church and the Latter-day Saints. The job you've done is beyond anything you can think of. In 180 countries, taking care of people the way you take care of people, and the respect that you have all over the world. I would love you to, while the media's here, just say a couple of words of what we just discussed, all of the care and all of the giving that you've done. And to help people, in particular poor people, would be a great thing, and perhaps they will transmit that to different parts of this country and the world. It's so brilliant to hear it.
Thank you, Mr. President. We're here in a place where we have food.
Mr. Cohen.
Surrounded as he stepped out of the courthouse in New York today, Michael Cohen's admission had been straightforward. He lied to the U.S. Congress. Cohen, once Donald Trump's personal lawyer and confidant, had just made a stunner of a plea deal, pleading guilty to false and misleading statements last year about Trump's involvement in a giant real estate project in Moscow, something Cohen now says continued well into Trump's 2016 campaign for the White House.
Quote, Trump had colluded with the Russians, but not in the sophisticated ways imagined by his detractors. I also knew that the Mueller investigation was not a witch hunt. Trump had cheated in the election with Russian connivance, as you will discover in these pages, because doing anything, and I mean anything, to win has always been his business model and way of life.
Some of the detail remains classified, but much of the report was made public this afternoon. Its authors say they have high confidence that Vladimir Putin ordered a campaign to influence the election, that Putin and his government aspired to help Trump's chances by discrediting Hillary Clinton, that hacking operations were conducted against both the Democrats and Republicans, and that the material on the Democrats was given to WikiLeaks, who published it online. Putin is said to have ordered Russian government agencies and state-funded media to influence the campaign. Social media users were allegedly hired to help too.
I think that the last person Russia wants to see in office is Donald Trump, because nobody's been tougher on Russia than I have ever.
Not true, says Donald Trump's own intelligence. The nation's top counterintelligence official sounding the alarm that Russia is at it again, trying to meddle in the presidential race to help Trump.
This means that U.S. intelligence has concluded that Vladimir Putin is offering bounties for the scalps of American soldiers in Afghanistan. Not only offering money to people who kill Americans, but some of the bounties that Putin has offered have been collected, meaning the Russians at least believe that their offering cash to kill Americans has actually worked to get some Americans killed. The Russians at least believe, if these bounties have been paid out, that the people to whom they have offered this money have successfully gone out and killed American soldiers because of it, and the Russians have therefore paid for that service. And President Trump was told about this in March.
And a major city yet to be determined in Russia.
Well, thank you, Senator Lee, and thank you, Senator Hatch. Appreciate the opportunity for us to address this issue, which I know is important to the people of Utah. And I'll speak as the governor of the people of Utah, recently reelected, and recognize that as we look to the federal lands as a certain asset that we have here in the state of Utah, we look to its optimal use and optimal management. And I appreciate the advantages we have with public lands in our state. It's not lost on me, it shouldn't be lost on anybody else here, that we as a state have created 43 state parks. We recognize the treasures that we have there, and appreciate the fact that it not only helps us economically, but the quality of life that we enjoy here in Utah is enhanced because of our public lands.
Today, Donald Trump decided to shrink two huge national monuments, and these monuments are in Utah, and his reasoning for doing so are questionable, to say the least. He will shrink the Bears Ears and Grand Staircase Escalante national monuments by more than 1.1 million acres and more than 800,000 acres, respectively. His decision also removes about 85% of the designation of Bears Ears and nearly 46% of that for Grand Staircase Escalante.
They just announced a massive carve-away from these public lands at Bear Ears and at Grand Staircase Escalante. And it's the biggest takeaway of public lands in American history, okay? But Zinke promises, quote, "This is not about energy. There is no mine within Bears Ears." Now, you're gonna be shocked to find out it's about energy. Not only that, get a load of this. It's about uranium. The thing that Donald Trump just complained about in regards to the Democrats. Oh, uranium won. Why isn't Hillary Clinton being investigated? Why hasn't she been arrested? Mueller was the head of the FBI at the time. Mueller's got a problem. Obama had a problem. Uranium, uranium, uranium. It turns out they want to privatize our public lands in case of Bears Ears so that they could do uranium mining.
Breaking news involving one of the president's cabinet members. Sources tell CNN the Justice Department is now investigating Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke. CNN senior White House correspondent Pamela Brown is with me now for more. And so, Pamela, tell me what you know.
Well, Brooke, we have learned that the Justice Department is investigating, as you pointed out, Interior Secretary Ryan Zinke for possibly using his office for personal gain. This is
So first we got news of a mysterious blast, some sort of explosion a week and a half ago in this corner of northwest Russia. We now know the explosion involves something nuclear. We know the official response to it in Russia has been marked locally by local and at the national level, national secrecy. The Russian government has not been forthcoming about what exactly happened at that missile testing site that killed, first they said 2 people, then they admitted 7 people. Over the weekend, national security correspondent Michael Gordon at the Wall Street Journal reported that 2 Russian monitoring stations that measure radiation, the 2 of those stations closest to the blast site, shut down mysteriously 48 hours after that explosion. The radioactive plume from that explosion might have billowed out like this, moving west and then south and then east day by day, sprawling out over Russia and environs. As Michael Gordon reports today, it's possible that Russia is trying to minimize publicity about the extent of the plume and the radioactive elements it contains.
And a major city yet to be determined in Russia.
Corporations are sitting on a lot of money now. They're sitting on a lot of profits now. I don't see wages going up. So just spare us the bank shots, spare us the sarcasm and the satire, and let's
I'm going to spare it, but I'm going to just say to you that I come from the poor people, and I've been here working my whole stinking career for people who don't have a chance. And I really resent anybody saying that I'm just doing this for the rich. Give me a break. I think you guys overplay that all the time, and it gets old. And frankly, you ought to quit it.
Mr. Chairman, the public
wait a minute.
believes it.
I'm not through. Okay. I get kind of sick and tired of it. True, it's a nice political play.
Well, Mr.
But
Chairman,
it's not true.
with all due respect, I get sick and tired of the richest people
Regular
in
order,
this country
Mr. Chairman.
getting richer and
Regular
richer
order.
and richer.
Through federal filings, we confirmed the numbers on 12 funds, each with more than one web domain owned by the LDS Church. The funds control about $31.9 billion in investments.
And a major city yet to be determined in Russia.
Instead of marching in 4th of July parades or shaking hands and kissing babies at backyard barbecues, a group of Republican members of Congress spent their 4th of July behind Putin's curtain. The Republicans meeting in Moscow coming after the lawmakers visited St. Petersburg and took in the ballet Sleeping Beauty helped set the tone for the July 16th Trump-Putin summit in Helsinki.
And joining me now from Helsinki, the site of the Trump-Putin summit, is the U.S. Ambassador to Russia, John Huntsman. Ambassador Huntsman, welcome back to Meet the Press, sir.
Thank you, Chuck.
Let me start with a simple question. Is this summit still on, and if so, why?
Well, listen, it isn't a summit. I've heard it called a summit. This is a meeting. In fact, it's the first meeting between the two presidents. They've had some pull-asides, one at the G20 in Hamburg and the other at the APEC Ministerial in Da Nang, Vietnam. But this is really the first time for both presidents to actually sit across the table and have a conversation.
20-year-old Elder Cole Brodowski and 19-year-old Elder David Gagg are coming home.
Finally, after nearly 3 weeks incarcerated in Russia.
The two young men were taken into custody for allegedly teaching English without a license, a claim the church and the boys deny.
John, I want to get this breaking news into you because this is just coming into us now, that formally we've received notice that John Huntsman is resigning as the ambassador to Russia. He's resigning to return to Utah for a possible run for governor there. So he's reportedly mulling another run for governor. But the news, John Huntsman, the U.S. ambassador to Russia, is resigning. And
and a major city yet to be determined in Russia.
On Good Friday, President Russell M. Nelson, joined by other senior leaders, announced plans to renovate the historic Salt Lake Temple.
This project will enhance, refresh, and beautify the temple and its surrounding grounds.
Renovations will begin after the temple closes on December 29th of 2019, paving the way for a 4-year period of far-reaching improvements and
and a major city yet to be determined in Russia. This is not the church of Joseph Smith. In each ward, the high priests and the elders will now be combined into one elders' quorum. And a major city yet to be determined in Russia. Now, may I voice a concern? It is this. Too many of our brothers and sisters do not fully understand the concept of priesthood power and authority. They act as though they would rather satisfy their own selfish desires and appetites than use the power of God to bless His children. I fear that too many of our brothers and sisters do not grasp the privileges that could be theirs. Some of our brethren, for example, act like they do not understand what the priesthood is and what it enables them to do. Let me give you some specific examples.
As a physician and surgeon, I have great admiration for medical professionals, scientists, and all who are working around the clock to curb the spread of COVID-19. I am also a man of faith, and I know that during these challenging times, we can be strengthened and lifted as we call upon God and His Son, Jesus Christ, the Master Healer. I invite you to join with me in a worldwide fast, for all whose health permits, to pray for relief from the physical, emotional, and economic effects of this global pandemic.
North Korea's diplomatic thaw looking more like a deep freeze. New images show Kim Jong-un riding a white horse, touring snow-covered battle sites on Mount Paektu. North Korea gave the U.S. an ultimatum, a breakthrough by the end of the year. That's less than a month away. Their latest cryptic warning came just this week. It says it's entirely up to the U.S. what Christmas gift it will select.
This week, 3 football players this is at Bingham High School, tested positive for COVID-19, causing their first game of the season to be canceled. Well, today, one more high school football player, this time at Granger High School, tested positive for COVID-19.
And new this morning, we just got a hold of a new federal report showing Florida is one of more than a dozen states in the red zone for COVID-19. ABC Action News reporter Vanessa Ariza is breaking down what this means for the millions of us who live here.
Florida and close to almost 24 other states are on that list of red zones in relation to COVID-19 outbreaks, and that is not a list that you want to be on. Members of the White House Coronavirus Task Force released a breakdown of each state across the country.
Насколько мне известно, сегодня утром впервые в мире зарегистрирована вакцина против новой коронавирусной инфекции.
And a major city yet to be determined in Russia.